What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 96 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. I'm excited about today's episode as it's an interview with my dear friend Glenn from Tower of Life Homeless Shelter in Krugersdorp, South Africa. If you want to help us reach more people in more countries, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends, or click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation of any amount could change a life. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled Finding Home in a Homeless Shelter, an interview with Glenn. Welcome back to episode 96 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast entitled Finding Home in a Homeless Shelter, an interview with Glenn. I'm happy to have my friend Glenn from Tower of Life Shelter in Krugersdorp. And Glenn has agreed to give us an interview today. So Glenn, delighted to talk to you again. And
Thank you, David.
First question I'd like to ask is, why do people become homeless?
David, there could be a variety of reasons why people become homeless. Especially in our circumstances here, the economy takes a downturn, people lose jobs, they haven't got an income anymore. And then there's the other aspect, through people's circumstances, a lot of them fall into addictions, alcohol, drugs, whatever the case may be. And, I understand that these people alienate themselves from their family and their friends through their behavior, maybe through their addictions or whatever the case may be, and land on the street, so they are basically homeless because nobody really wants them. I know of people who the one spouse kicks the other one out the house, and then that person is homeless.
Yeah, I've seen that quite a bit where people get caught up in addiction, and because of all the manipulation and lying, so to speak, they lose their ability to stay living with their family. Also, if they become incarcerated, then they may not have the home to come home to when they get released.
Sure. And that happens actually more often than not, David, where they are released and then there's actually nowhere to go, You might have a friend or a distant relative or someone. I've even heard of people, ex-cons, they've gone out and then the other one comes out and that one invites that one in. And, well, it's not an ideal situation because it's not long and they're back,
Yes. Yeah. So I guess if we get personal with this, how long have you been at Tower of Life now, and what have you found to be the hardest thing about being homeless?
David, I've been here for a year and 2 months. Well, to be homeless is kind of like, for me, it kind of reminds me, it takes me back to the time when I came out of incarceration. And although my family did accommodate me for a little while, I had to find a home for myself. And that was very difficult. So it kind of took me back to that time, and that was what was a little bit difficult about it, including a lot of other things. There's a lot of other things that remind me of that place. So, kind of like it's a little bit hard in that respect. However, I've come to learn that a lot of homelessness it's a mental thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so why, from that sort of mental or emotional aspect, why do you choose to stay in the shelter?
Well, for me, David, it's I see it as, from a different perspective, I see it as an opportunity, a second chance, put it that way, as a second chance, because I was dying, and now I've been given a second chance, and it's motivated me. So I'm growing through so for me, it's an opportunity to pick myself up, fix the things, and I'm talking about the deeper things that your program deals with, the deeper issues, because those are, I believe, the core reasons why it eventually ended up into addiction. And I believe dealing with that will then remove a lot of the, how can I say, the desire to do that anymore.
Mm.
And also have a purpose. Purpose is very important.
Yeah, I hear you saying you're sort of finding hope there in the shelter, but also finding healing.
Healing, yes, and hope. A lot of hope. Because I've given my life to God, and in my opinion, I have to serve Him. But that is a great thing for me, because it's given me a purpose and also a sense of belonging, David, because my particular problem was one of not being wanted. That's how I believed it.
Mm.
So that's what happened in the beginning. So that is the thing that is now galvanizing me, because now I know I do belong. I belong to God.
Yes.
And so I live my life accordingly, and it actually fills me with a lot of motivation. It energizes me, and as I say, it's a second chance.
Excellent. Yeah. And in that second chance, you've sort of found a new home and a new family there at Tower of Life. So how would you describe, your new definitions for home and family?
Definitely new definitions, because I've learned here that we need each other. Okay, people need each other. You cannot live on your own, be isolated. Through my addiction, it eventually led to that, where I isolated myself and just drank. So coming out, and also not just because the shelter is not an ideal place, so there is hardship. As we say, you don't have a home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But through hardship, I have seen, in my experience, through hardship, you've got a bunch of guys together, a bond gets formed, like a brotherhood type thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And I believe that is very important, and we can, through that, we encourage each other, we motivate each other. I know of this one guy here, he said to me this morning, he said that he's got a great job. It's a job where he worked before. He worked for this guy before, a long time. So he's going back into that environment. The guy is giving him a chance to work there. He's clean from the alcohol,
Yes.
But he said to me, Glenn, but I don't want, because the guys offered him a place to stay. He said, no, I don't want that. I want to stay at the shelter, because he gets. So that's quite significant. So he told me he gets his motivation and everything from the environment here, which is created by these guys, and this bond that I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's excellent. That shows that importance of the sense of belonging and getting connected and being able to sort of choose your friends and develop your friendships. And I think with that in mind, having been there at Tower of Life with you guys, how do you view the guys right across the street and right around the corner who don't want to stay? What do you think is keeping them away? Is it fear or what is it?
Well, I feel a lot of empathy for them, David, because the conditions outside they really are tough. I believe that, for them, it's they are caught in that grip of the drug.
Yeah.
And I believe it's the drugs that's keeping them there. because as you know, they're strict here about it, especially those who inject themselves and smoke drugs and stuff like that, the crystal and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also the despair. It's from one fix to the next. That's the only thing in their lives now, from one fix. I've seen them, David, they fall asleep. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning or just before 8. He's lying there, he's passed out, his head is hanging one side and the needle's hanging out of his arm,
Yeah. Yeah. So what word of encouragement do you feel that you guys who have found family and found a sense of belonging inside Tower of Life, what words of encouragement would you have to give to either guys who are sleeping under the bridge, sleeping under the pavement, or guys just getting released from prison and not having a place to go?
David, if it draws me, I don't know how to explain it, but if it draws me, I go to a person, and normally they don't have cigarettes, and they normally all smoke. Then I offer the person a cigarette, and then sit and talk to that person. So I'm trying to do that more often, and I don't think enough is being done. They don't really get any offers of hope, or it's kind of like just stay out of our way, and in fact just get out of our way.
So I guess in conclusion here, and I really appreciate everything you've shared. I think we're helping our listeners really understand homelessness better.
Yes.
But I'd like to hear from you sort of what couple of words or phrases would you use to describe homelessness to help people really understand what you guys go through every day?
Okay. For me personally, homeless represents, it goes back to the beginning when I understood that we were not wanted. So, growing up, I never really felt it was my home that I was growing up in. It was my father's house, and when he used to come back from work, I used to jump into the tree. I used to continuously hide from him.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel too much like home. It did improve after a while when I got into high school and everything, but by then the damage was done. So for me, it's kind of like a mind thing. That homeless feeling is that you don't belong, and nobody wants you. They just want to be rid of you. So you're not good enough. You don't conform to, what society wants from you. You're a drug addict or whatever the case may be, or you've fallen, you lost your job, you drank too much, whatever the case may be. Well, guess what? That's your story, my friend. So you sort it out, So that's kind of like the conscience you have about it, about people, what they think, and you get the looks from people. And now and then the suggestions that you overhear, that they're talking to each other. I mean, sometimes I've heard people walk past and they point to the people who are busy injecting themselves, describing that to the other one, and then they immediately point to the shelter and they tell the other one, it's these people from that building there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but for me, David, it does represent the shelter, because there's people here that care, that are walking a path with me here. So they're like family to me,
Excellent. Yeah. I think that's the key, that, if we have people out there who still are afraid of that stigma of homelessness, if we can leave them with one thought, I think it is that there are places out there like Tower of Life where people can find a home and find hope.
And there's caring, there's real caring, and genuinely sincere support. So, and that's something that was lacking in my past. Someone that cared so much. I mean, Janet is virtually, she's an amazing woman. okay? And her caring is so genuine.
Yes.
It just carries you along, you know. And then that forms a sense of home, definitely.
Excellent. Now, is there anything else you'd like to say in closing?
Yes, I must agree with you that there are a lot of stigmas attached to addictions and stuff like that. And I think it's very important that, you know, that it gets, the truth gets out about how it really is, because people are inclined to think the way they think about something, and sometimes it, you know, it's not it's not actually the case. So I think getting the knowledge out there, the information out there, will help people to understand, and I believe that will also improve things a bit.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Glenn, and
Welcome, David.
we'll chat soon, and hopefully I'll be over there with you soon.
Yes, we're looking very forward to that, David. Genuinely.
Okay.
All right,
care.
David. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
You too. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you would like to join an online group or get one-on-one counseling, please message me on the link in this podcast or get a hold of me by email at davidfromatod@gmail.com, or you could go to my website www.fromatod.org and click on the contact page. You can also keep in touch with what we're doing in From A to D by following me on Instagram at davidfromatod. Tune in Monday for our next episode, and as always, stay safe and stay strong.